Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Ali. If you're new here, you may not know this, but if you have been here before, you may know it, and that is that up until quite recently, I was a chinchilla breeder and I bred chinchillas for around 30 years. I have stopped within the last 9 months. Now there is a bit of a caveat to this because although I have stopped breeding chinchillas, some of my older pairs are still together. My younger pairs have all been separated, but my older pairs have been kept together. So there could be a chance that I might have a chinchilla baby every now and again, but really it will be a once in a blue moon. I don't expect them to have many chinchilla kits at all because as they get older, they generally stop producing kits anyway. So all my younger chinchillas have all been separated. So it's been 9 months since I stopped breeding chinchillas, and it's given me time to reflect on all the things that I really miss about it and all the things that I really don't miss. And in this video I'm going to go through all the things that I really don't miss about breeding chinchillas. Please stay to the end because the end one will surprise you. So okay, the first thing I don't miss about being a chinchilla breeder is the sheer amount of stress, anxiety and worrying it induces, because chinchilla pregnancies and births are extremely risky. Like with all animals, childbirth is a very dangerous thing for the chinchilla to be going through, and it is very worrying all the time whether your chinchilla is going to make it through the whole process. And if you care about the chinchillas as much as I do, that worry can be extreme, I'll tell you that. And I don't miss having had to have a emergency vet on speed dial just in case things do go wrong, which they quite often do, and it can be heartbreaking. And yes, I don't miss any of that really. Now, as I say, I do have some chinchilla pairs that are still together, but the chances of them having kits is really small. That anxiety is still there if I know they are pregnant, but it's nowhere near the amount it was before. So I don't miss that at all. I don't think people fully grasp when they are thinking about breeding an animal just how anxiety inducing it is and how incredibly dangerous it is for the female animal. So yeah, that is something that I definitely do not miss. So the second thing I don't miss about breeding chinchillas is, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, it's dead kits. Now, like with a lot of animals, when you breed animals, babies don't always make it, and that can be heartbreaking. Sometimes they are born premature, so they don't have fully formed bodies at all. Sometimes they can be born dead, so they can be stillborn. Sometimes they can be born and last a couple of hours and then slip away. And sometimes you can have chinchillas that just fail to thrive, and no matter what you do, you intervene, you give them milk, you do everything you can to actually make them grow and happy and healthy, they sometimes still do die. And there's nothing worse than walking in to your chinchilla room and finding that one of the kits has passed away, and that can take its toll emotionally on you and also the mother of the chinchilla. It can be very devastating all round, and it's not something that I miss at all. I mean, it's just dreadful. So the next thing is something that I don't miss, but I do miss at the same time, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but I will explain. So I miss some aspects of it, so the rewarding aspect of it, but other aspects of it I don't. And that is hand rearing kits. Now, I miss the rewarding side of this, of being able to help a chinchilla grow and thrive and become a healthy adult chinchilla. That I get such a rewarding feeling from being involved in that chinchilla's life from such an early stage. However, what I don't miss is the fact that when a newborn chinchilla needs to be hand reared, they have to be fed every 1.5 to 2 hours in the beginning, and that is insanely tiring. I liken it to a newborn baby. It is insanely tiring, and I don't miss that at all. Don't miss the sleepless nights. I don't miss having to get up and feed a chinchilla every couple of hours. That is something that I don't miss. But at the same time, I do miss it. It's a very strange one, but it's just the tiring aspect I don't miss, because I have to function as a human being as well. I still have to go to work. I still have to be a mother to my daughter. I still have to be a wife to my husband. It's a lot to deal with, basically. So I don't miss that at all. But as I say, I do miss the rewarding aspects of it, the looking after a chinchilla and seeing it grow and become healthy and having an adult life, as for example Titania and an Aurora. They are both 2 chinchillas that I hand reared many years ago. They're still with me. Okay, now this is a big one. This is one of the ones that made me question whether I wanted to be breeding chinchillas for years and years and years. If something hadn't happened to my husband earlier on in the year, I think this is the one that would eventually have caused me to go, I am not doing this anymore. And that is the rehoming process. And that's not because I think to myself, oh, I can't give up the kits that I've got. I find it too emotionally draining to give up the kits, which is a reality. I do get attached to them, but I do know logically in my brain, I can't keep every single chinchilla baby I have. So I kind of have put that in my brain so that that part of letting go of a chinchilla isn't an issue for me. What is an issue for me is the fact that so many people are deceitful and are liars, basically. So for example, I don't really sell to breeders. Don't do it. Unless I know the breeder quite well, or unless it's someone that I trust or someone that I've seen the setup and I think, yeah, and I know that they know what they're doing. Now, for the last few years, I've only sold a couple of chinchillas to breeders, and they are breeders that I have known for years and years and years and have been doing it longer than I have. And people that I trust and know will have a good setup and know what they're doing and are knowledgeable. But for the vast majority of them, I like my chinchillas to go to pet homes unless they're exceptional, and then I keep them myself if they're exceptional back in the day. So people will contact me asking me for a chinchilla, and I'll get some information from them, what they're about, what they're doing, have they had chinchillas before, what their setup's like, all that kind of stuff. And they often say to me, I just want a pet chinchilla to accompany my other chinchilla that's lonely, or I need to get another chinchilla for this female chinchilla I've got. And I'm just like, okay, they seem reasonable. I take people at face value, which is probably a bit naive of me, because I wouldn't lie myself. I don't think that other people are going to lie to me. Is a fault in my character, really, that I believe people all the time. So they'll say, I only want a pet chinchilla, and I'm going to keep it with this other female that I've got and all this kind of stuff. And I think, okay, you seem reasonable, let's do this kind of thing. And unfortunately, quite often that person will post 2 weeks later on Facebook after they've got my chinchilla that they've just had their recent chinchilla kits born, and the fact they are in fact a breeder. And then I look at their setups and my heart sinks, because they're not the sort of setup I would actually want for my chinchilla to be in. And at that stage it's too late. I've sold them the chinchilla. And you wouldn't believe how many times this happens to me, where people say they're doing one thing and then do the complete opposite. Yeah, this happens quite often, and it kind of is soul destroying in a way. So I also had situations where people have told me they've done a lot of research, and then I give them lots and lots of advice when they arrive as well. I will give you an example. A lady came to collect a chinchilla off of me on one of the hottest days of the year. I gave her loads and loads of information about the chinchillas, what they need, what they don't need. She said she'd done a lot of research herself. I'd seen her setup, it looked okay. There was a few points I said to her, you need to change this to make it safe for the chinchilla. But on the whole, she seemed quite alright with everything. And I said to her, make sure the car that you have her in, it has got air conditioning, because they are quite sensitive to the heat. And she said, yep, she knew all about that. Anyway, cut forward a day. This is, again, one of the hottest days of the year. She rings me up and says that the chinchilla is having a seizure or a fit, and it's not breathing. And basically, from all accounts, it sounded like they had heat stroke. And I said, well, where is the chinchilla? Then she said she'd come back from a walk, and the chinchilla was in a caravan, and she'd come back from her walk and found the chinchilla in this state. Now, she didn't tell me that she was going to a caravan. She then tells me that she was going for a weekend away in a caravan, and she was taking the chinchilla with her, and that she'd gone out for a walk, she'd come back and found the chinchilla like this. And I'm just like, please don't tell me you had your chinchilla in a caravan on the hottest day of the year. She then changed the story completely and said no, she hadn't been out for a walk. She'd been in the caravan when this happened, and the chinchilla had just had a seizure. And I'm just like, okay, you've already changed your story once now. And then I said, well, what was the temperature like in the caravan? And she said to me, oh, we had it on air conditioning. The caravan had air conditioning and it was at 13 degrees. Now, to me, that's immediately telling me another lie, because no one sits in a room that's 13 degrees. That is like sitting in a fridge. You would all have to be wearing coats in the caravan. So I knew that was a lie. And she kept on changing the story. Anyway, in the end, told her to get it to a vet. She wouldn't take it to a vet, and it promptly died. And that situation made me really question whether I wanted to be breeding chinchillas at all, because I just can't trust the people I am selling to. So since all these situations have happened, I have become very, very wary of people, and I will question people a lot about what their intentions are with the chinchilla. And that is one of the reasons why I stopped as well, because I just can't stand the thought of a chinchilla going off somewhere where they're not going to be cared for properly, or where people just generally just lie to me. I don't like it. The final thing that I do not miss about chinchilla breeding is the backstabbing and bitching and just generally duplicity of some people within the community. There's some breeders within the community that are constantly in other people's ears telling all kinds of falsehoods about other people, and it really becomes like a bit of a schoolyard kind of, gossip nonsense. And I am so glad to be completely out of that now. So I've only been to shows a couple of times because I could see that within the show circuit. Certainly they pretend to be friends. They're not friends with each other, trust me. I know this because I've got so many stories of how people have said things to other people that aren't true, and then things about other things that aren't true, and this person does this and this person does that, and I completely removed myself from it. So although I have removed myself from it years ago, so I don't get involved in any of that nonsense, it's still something that I don't miss about being a chinchilla breeder, is the fact that the breeders themselves are kind of like backstabby. They're just really awful people sometimes. Not all of them at all, but there are a few. I won't name names because these are quite big breeders in the UK, so I won't name names, but there are a few that are really kind of nasty. Anyway, so they're the things that I really, really don't miss about breeding chinchillas. So I hope you found this video informative. If you're thinking about breeding chinchillas, please bear in mind there are some downsides. And I shall see you in another video soon. Goodbye for now.